Okay, Pam, great to have you on the show. Excited to talk to you. I know that you've been busy making the rounds. Obviously, a lot's been going on. I mean, and you've notably declined President Trump's pardon for your involvement in the January 6th events, stating that it would dishonor the Capitol Police and the rule of law. Can you do me a favor for my listeners? Because you could be one of the very few people ever in history to actually turn down a pardon. I wish to God Joe Biden would have offered me a pardon, but he didn't. Can you elaborate on the personal convictions that led you to this decision?
Well, Michael, I've been speaking out for a year and a half. I already knew if he was to get in office, I would not take a pardon from him. Oh my God. Because we've been pushing it back on the J6 narrative and all their lies. And I wouldn't want to be a part of their narrative, with all their lies out there. If I had never even spoke to anybody, this is something I have to do for my own conscience, for my making amends for ever being there that day. But Michael, right now I'm having a problem. They told me I'm off probation. Nobody knows how to help me refuse the pardon. I have emailed the pardon attorney. It's the Office of Pardon Attorney. So I'm hoping maybe somebody to take me pro bono and attorney and help me get. I don't want this pardon. I'm disgusted right now.
You know what? If I can, as a friend, and you and I have over the course of more than a year now, had handfuls of conversations regarding this and many other things. I can't imagine somebody taking on a pro bono case that actually benefits you, regardless of the fact that it came from Trump. Your conviction in not wanting this pardon is beyond. I mean, just please understand that few people, if anybody other than yourself, would actually turn down a pardon that would get rid of all of the nonsense, the entire bullshit around, for example, the probation office and all of the things that ultimately harm you, including the stigma of that felony conviction. It's acceptable and it is honorable what you're saying and what you're doing, and you should continue to speak your truth. But I don't see a lawyer, one, taking it on a contingency or even pro bono, and two, I don't even see how you could be successful. The presidential pardon is an unlimited power. You don't have to ask for it in order for a president to give it. And I can't imagine how somebody would turn around and say that the president's pardon power, which in your case was not specific, it was to just nearly 1,600 individuals. So how would they parcel yours out just by saying, I don't want it? If I was you, I'd take it. I'd accept it. You don't have to take it. You accept the pardon. You accept the fact that you are now off probation. You no longer have that felony conviction. But you keep speaking your truth to power. You keep being the Pam that we know that you are, and you speak your mind the way that you want to. One does not necessarily have to go with the other. Though again, incredibly honorable.
Well, I have emailed them, and I'm sending out a letter again to the pardon. It's called the Office of the Pardon Attorney, and because I was told that I don't have to accept this pardon, but my PO called me yesterday. They're working on it too. She says, but meanwhile, you're not accountable to us anymore, and I don't want that. I want to stay on probation. I want to finish my sentence. You know what I mean? It means something.
How much more time in your sentence do you even have?
I think until September, 8 months. But that's not the point. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of that thing.
Right, but
Yeah.
by the time that you finally get the resolution, you know that government works slower than molasses. even in a Trump administration, by the time that they get this shit under control, you realize that it'll probably be around August or July. So what are you saving yourself? The 2 months? Like I said, you keep speaking your truth. And if you really want to, if you really want to stick it in somebody's eye, imagine they go out, they give you this very infrequent document, this pardon, and then you continue to speak ill about what went on and the individual that gave it. That's the real kick in the ass if you think about it.
Okay. Yeah, I thought if they send me one of those certificates, you know what I'm going to write on that? And then I'm going to burn
Oh,
it.
well, I don't think
You
you
know
should
what I'll
burn
write?
anything. I hear you. I do hear you. Let me ask you this, right? Again, because it's extremely honorable what you're doing and the reasons behind it. But with over 16 or nearly 1,600 pardons that were issued to January 6 participants, how do you interpret this action in terms of accountability and justice? And I'm talking about, right? You're talking about 1,600 or nearly 1,600 people that were held accountable and received some form of punishment via the courts, by the judge.
Yeah.
How do you interpret it?
Well, it's an outrage. It's saying that the evidence that they collected from their emails, their photos was all bogus. Everything about it, slapping the face into the judges, to the prosecutors, to the rule of law. I mean, it's horrible with the precedents that they are setting with this. It's a nightmare. We know that Trump had to do this because his narrative that the DOJ is weaponized against me, it's a witch hunt. And if he didn't pardon every single one of them, then his message would have been interpreted, well, maybe not all the DOJ is weaponized against us. He couldn't do that. He has to keep his propaganda narrative sick message out there that there's a deep state. It's funny. And the DOJ is weaponized against us. Well, but Jack Smith, he said in his report that he would be in prison. That's enough for me. But yeah, Michael, this is horrifying. It's horrifying.
Yeah, and you know what's amazing is when you listen to some of the, and I'm not saying all, look, Pam, let me be very open with my audience here. You went into the Capitol, but you weren't violent. You didn't smash anything. You were just there, if I'm not mistaken, as part of a protest, correct?
Yeah, but don't minimize what I did.
Well, I'm not minimizing.
You know,
I'm not
I broke the
minimizing, but
law.
we had,
It was wrong.
yes, but
It was wrong.
we had people in there that legitimately were looking for members of Congress to beat the shit out of them and to kill them, like Mike Pence or Nancy Pelosi. That wasn't your intention.
No. Well, no. I think a lot of us were, but it was wrong. It doesn't matter if I was just in there,
But the point I'm trying to make is that the ones who were violent, and I speak to Harry Dunn on a regular basis, one of the Capitol Police officers, and, they were violent, whether it was with baseball bats, steel pipes, flagpoles, bear sprays, zip ties, tasers, as they did to Michael Fanone. Donald let them out also. Granted them a pardon, as he said that they would. In fact, one of the J6 pardoned defendants, I think his name's Matthew Huddle, in Indiana. I don't know if you heard about this, but in Indiana, he ended up in a traffic violation, got out, ended up in an assault scenario with the police officers there, and he ended up losing his life. I think one of the biggest problems is that they don't understand the concept of accountability. They believe that Donald Trump will come to their rescue because they are his people and they have no respect for the rule of law.
No, Not at all. They have their own agenda, and it's just like Trump's, But the court records show there was over 120 guns there and more. There was guns there too.
Oh
The
yeah,
guns.
yeah.
Oh my! Just imagine if somebody had pulled out a gun and shot an officer. Oh my!
No, no, I can't. So let me ask you this: reflecting on your journey since January 6th, how have your views on political movements and personal responsibility transformed?
Oh, night and day. Of course, I've been reading your book and all the other books I can get my hands on. Democracy Awakening, Heather Cox, and you name the books. I wish I'd known about this disinformation warfare that was going on out there. You don't suspect a president to be lying to you and being a dangerous narcissist. It doesn't come to your head. That he's a cult leader. People don't understand what a cult is. You imagine a cult, where they're drinking the Kool-Aid or killing children. No, Trump is a cult leader, and he's turned it into a cult. So it's some of this stuff, when you're out there like me, the normal person that's not schooled, not involved in politics. I've been working as an alcohol and drug counselor for 30 years. I'm focusing on addiction. And so all this comes along, and I'm vulnerable. I'm ripe because I'm listening to the lieutenant governor here in Boise, Idaho. I'm listening to other people that were at Ammon Bundy's meetings, senators, people with 2 PhDs. So you're listening to all the wrong people, and you're vulnerable, and you're naive, and you're trusting, and you lose your critical thinking. And they over and over, Trump and everybody else, don't listen to the Democrats. They've been trying to steal elections forever. So all that programming, and you're believing and you're trusting, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sad, right? So let me ask you this then. Again, reflecting on this past scenario, how do you think that media outlets like Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, and others, how do you think that it shaped your perspective? And what responsibility do you think that they hold in disseminating the disinformation that you're talking about?
Well, once I learned the facts about Jacob Chansley's case, I really saw how they put out disinformation all the time. It just like, oh my God. Because in his case, the officers were telling him to leave, and they don't know what to do. They don't know if he has a weapon on him or what. But the Fox News didn't tell you that, made it sound like he's just walking around and being peaceful and that they're taking him to where he wants. No, they weren't. So they don't give you all the information. And and I know there's two sides to every story. That's why we have divorce court. You've got to know both sides. Then you have informed information and you can decide for yourself. But they don't do that. They
Yeah.
purposely just
In
give you
fact,
half.
I've always heard, Pam, that there's three sides to every story,
Yeah,
right?
three
There's
sides.
yours, there's theirs, and then there's something in the middle, which
Yeah.
amounts to the total and full truth. And
Exactly.
look, I'm with you. I really do believe. And I talk about, for example, on my YouTube channel, I have a Michael Cohen show that I do these raw outtakes, unfiltered outtakes about news. And I'm very critical, for example, of like Jesse Waters over at Fox News or Tucker Carlson when he was there. These guys spew so much bullshit, so much misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, just to stay on message with Trump. Now, you could stay on message with Trump without turning around and trying to whitewash the reality of what took place there. All right. There's no reason in the world that somebody who was violent should have been pardoned. Somebody like yourself who was nonviolent, you were there, you broke the law, you suffered the consequences. I'm a firm believer, and I'm working on something right now with my friend, Jesse Jackson Jr. The two of us are working on something that actually would do exactly what you are fortunate enough to have received, even though you're receiving it from Trump, and that is the pardon, right? Because there is no reason. Once you finish your sentence, that pardon should go away. Otherwise, when the judge provides you with a sentence, let's say yours was a year and a day, and a year of supervised release or probation or whatever it is that they assign to you. Well, that's a technical 2-year term. If your felony conviction stays with you forever, isn't that really a lifetime? Isn't that really a lifetime sentence? And what's the difference? What if hypothetically, okay, you were trespassing? Should you really be a felon the rest of your life for trespassing? Should you really be a felon for a tax issue? Should you really be? The ones who should remain felons are violent criminals, not people who committed, right? It would, even if hypothetically you're driving under the influence, and I hate that, right? Because people get hurt all the time, but nobody got hurt, right? Or again, you do something as silly and ridiculous as trespassing. Should you really be a felon for life? And that's the point that Jesse and I are intending on taking even to this administration, because the answer is we believe not. But I also want to then bring into you, it's not just media outlets like Fox and others. It's also social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it might be. And these platforms have been criticized for hosting conspiracy theories, especially X. I mean, these guys get on and they have their live events where they'll get 1 million people talking about something that I know, as you do, because you were there, but I watched it on television. I listened to the sound of the screams of police officers as his head was stuck in the doorway or being smacked upon or tased. I know what I saw and I know what I heard. How do you think social media contributes to political radicalization? And what measures do you think can be taken to address this? What measures should Congress be looking at right now to address this issue?
Oh, I really don't know if I have an answer for that one. However, I think just the awareness that it's going on, and it's so important to double check everything that you are hearing. I mean, oh my God, the misinformation. I wish we had that little thing going on. I think they do, where it's fact checked. Because the difference when I was started my J6 space where the J6 defendants were coming in and the family, and the difference with the J6 gaslighting space I started was night and day. You both sounded the same, but the difference was the J6 defendants were just talking. They weren't bringing any receipts or proof. And when I started the gaslighting space, the Democrats, the sedition hunters, they were all bringing receipts, proof of what they were sharing. And they wouldn't even let you talk unless you had some receipts. So we need more of that.
And because we see that day in and day out. One of the things that that Trump was so angry about during the campaign was that media outlets wanted to do fact checking of statements that he was making on the spot. And it's not just Trump. It's not just Trump. We're listening as members of Congress are rewriting reality. They're whitewashing what honestly took place, that we all know, we heard it, we saw it, right? There were consequences. Nearly 1,600 people were ultimately incarcerated or became defendants in cases. I don't understand. I really, truly don't. I don't understand how it's possible that you can have people that turn around and say it was a day of love, that it was nonviolent, it was a peaceful protest, and they say it with such conviction. I'm just curious how.
It's easy to keep lying to yourself. How many people do introspection and keep an eye on their character defects? so they don't, so that they continue to live a good life. You know, am I lying? Am I being honest? How many people do that? Well, because I've been in the program for 45 years, I have to do that. It's important that I get honest with myself. If I've harmed somebody, I have to make amends because I'm on a spiritual recovery path for myself. But how many people are doing that? Isn't it better just to lie to yourself and blame Michael Cohen? let's
Oh,
blame let's blame somebody. I love that character defect. It's one of mine. I'm guilty of it.
but Pam, how is it making them better? How is it making their life better
Not,
to
it's
lie to
not.
themselves about what the true reality that's going
No,
on there?
no. There's statistics over the court records. Most of them have serious alcohol and drug problems. Childhood unresolved problems. They're not happy. I mean, no, look, they're not. They're kidding themselves, but they got all their enablers around them. Oh, poor Pam, Hunter Biden gotten less time than you. You're a victim. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't break the law. It's our house. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I was the victim. And they're getting the same message from everybody around them. So they don't even have to look at it. Shame on you. I don't even feel sorry for you. You're making a choice. You made a choice that day. You were not a victim. You were a volunteer. And I'm disgusted with all the J6ers, every single one of them, for what they've done to this country and what happened to it. All the police officers that day, Michael. I mean, we don't have that plaque up, and it's been approved. That's the least the country could do for the Capitol police officers is get that plaque up. I'm sorry, I'm getting off subject that you were talking about, but
No, that's
I
okay.
get passionate thinking about them all being pardoned. What? And yeah, they keep lying to the nation themselves. But you know what? Um, if you don't deal with the problem's going to deal with you, and they're not going to deal with their problem. So they'll continue on drugs and alcohol, maybe compulsive gambling, maybe continue to steal and be violent. Maybe they'll get cancer. I don't know. You can't get away with harming people, continue to lie and harm people without some kind of uh, ramifications will happen eventually. I know I did. I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep when I'm not being honest. And I know I have a resentment. I got to deal with my resentments. I can't hang on to a resentment. It's like hanging on to a hot potato. There's things I got to do to be all right with me to keep my peace of mind, and try to live a good life. But no, Michael, they're not happy.
Pam, what was your actual sentence? What was the
60
sentence at
days, 60 days in
60
Dublin
days?
prison.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Remember I
And
told you about Michelle West?
yes,
Remember?
yes, I do.
Joseph pardoned her. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. She got a
Yeah, I'm
pardon.
happy for I'm happy for her. I wish that the old geezer would have fucking done the same for me and for all the other
Yeah.
people that were forced to testify via subpoena instead of leaving us out to dry. I mean, which is what Joe Biden did. I have a
Oh,
very different opinion. I have a very different opinion of him and the morons that surrounded him. I really do. I have you can't put somebody in harm's way and then turn around and say, well, you're going to need to figure this out on your own. In fact, hindsight being 2020, if I knew then what I know now, that the administration was going to basically walk away, and it's not just about me that I'm referring to. I'm talking about people like Cassidy Hutchinson or Lisa Farah Griffin, or Stormy Daniels or Stephanie Grisham or any of the other people that had to testify against Trump via subpoena, validly served and executed subpoenas. If I would have known that, I wouldn't have. I would have taken the fifth from day number one. I didn't want to testify in the first place, but Trump was adamant that I should do it because he knew I would toe the line and he knew that I would stay on message. And so I
yeah.
did, and to my own stupidity. But yeah, well, as I said to you when the first time that you and I spoke, you are what we used to refer to as a short timer with 60 days. So
Yeah.
listen, I totally get it. Can you do me a favor with my audience? Can you share how exposure to disinformation influenced your actions on January 6th and then the steps that you've taken now today to seek accurate information since?
Yeah, I wish I'd known, but reading and learning things that people around Trump had told him that the election hadn't been stolen. I didn't know that. And he went out there and kept it going anyway. I didn't know that when he talked to Pence, Pence didn't want to have anything to do with what he was asking him, but he goes out there and makes everybody believe that he was maybe going to go along with him. I mean, it made you feel that possibility. No, Pence wanted, I didn't know these things. I wish I'd known, that Trump
But
knew.
where did you get your disinformation from? Were you a Fox News viewer? Was it Newsmax? Was it OAN? Was it Washington
those.
Post?
All those.
Everything.
Yeah, and those around me that I knew, respected politicians here in Boise, Idaho, just giving me the same information over and over. Of course, a lot of gaslighting. And, oh, don't be reading that. Don't be listening to that channel, trying to influence you to just stay focused on what Trump is sharing, what the party's sharing, Giuliani. How would you suspect a person like that to get out there and outright lie? For what? For money? For power? I don't get it.
Yeah. Not you, but Rudy. Absolutely. He's desperate for money, and he is desperate for being close to power. Very much like the old mythological, story of Icarus. Rudy wanted to fly close to the sun, and he did. Standing up there on the steps over at Trump National Bedminster, I've been there. Standing over there, holding thumbs up with Donald at Doral or Mar-a-Lago or wherever else Trump was at the White House at the front door, thumbs up, big ass smile with his laminates and all. And next thing you know, well, like Icarus, the wings are made of wax and face first splat right to the ground. He even went so far as to be stupid and attacked the two women, Shai Moss and Ruby Freeman, simply because that was the narrative. He was staying on message. And each and every one of those individuals that stay on message, ultimately, not Trump. Trump manages to escape all liability and accountability. And now, especially with the Supreme Court's decision, he will continue to do so, but not the other people. And it's going to be, unfortunately for them, a lesson that both you and I have learned the hard way.
Yeah. He don't care about nobody but him. He just cares about golfing.
Well, that's true.
When they swore him in as president, no, it felt more like they were crowning a king or a dictator or a mob boss. They didn't swear in no president.
Well, he was the president because the process is. But let me ask you this then. What strategies would you recommend to individuals to break free from the ideological echo chamber and engage with diverse perspectives? Because one of the things, again, if you watch Fox News, if you watch only Newsmax and listen to only OA, by the way, it's the same thing with CNN or MSNBC. If you follow only one news source, your perspective is completely limited. What strategies would you recommend?
That feeling that a friend of yours that you really, really respected and liked, and you find out they lied to you, and it hurts that somebody you trusted lied to you. So it's important to know that, though. Now you have a choice. You don't have to be around this person anymore. So with Trump and everybody around him, it's important that you know for yourself, not to be going out and telling me to anybody, but you learn for yourself that you are being lied to. They're not giving you the facts. Learn who the right people are to listen to. Researchers like Michael Pollan, that's been there, done it, has the information. Listen to people like that. It's really important. Not everyone's doing what Michael Pollan is doing, what you're doing, but find the right researchers. Like for me, Heather Cox Richardson, people that are in the Lincoln Project, that are getting facts out there. They're not doing this because they're against Trump. They're against lies. They're trying to save our democracy. And you can trust these people. really can. I guess
Yeah.
did I answer your question?
I
Find
guess
out.
I guess so. I'm just trying to think more like the strategies that you
A
would recommend to break free of that ideological echo chamber, right?
Oh,
I mean, what sort of
well,
strategies do you? Because I truly don't know the answer, and I was one of the people that was lied to by somebody who was not just my boss, but somebody who I considered like a close friend, and I'm referring to Donald Trump, who just throws you under the bus and backstabs you. I'm still looking to understand all the strategies. Is it to go out and to create a podcast? Is it to go on television and, try to speak truth to power? Is it, the 3-step program or something like that? I don't know the answer.
well, each individual has to decide for themselves what would work best for them to do. And for me, it's just been fact checking and making sure that the information I'm reading, because that's going to influence how I'm going to vote or how I'm going to live my life too. Who am I listening to? You know, you know, I'm not sure. My own path has been mine. I'm not sure how the question per se. I'm not strategies to change how we're looking at information. I'm not clear.
Yeah, only because, again, I'm just trying to figure out. And I've had Stephen Hassan on my
Oh,
program several times, who is
right. Yeah.
he breaks cult personalities and so on, because that's what MAGA is. It's a gang. It's a cult. And you know, when I asked Stephen a very similar question, what strategies do you recommend? His comment is, speaking to them in a way where you're not preaching to them, but rather you are engaging them in civil conversations. And Stephen, stop the bullshit. Let's stop the bullshit right here and now. You cannot speak to people in a kind tone, right? In order to get them to change their mind and to leave this cult. This is a cult of anger. This is a cult where they feel that they are marginalized, even though they are not. This is a cult that takes pride in kicking the next guy simply because they can. You see what I'm saying? And I'm just
Oh,
trying to see, like,
oh,
what do you do to break free from this?
okay. First, I want to say, are you familiar with the bad cop and the good cop?
Of course.
Okay. So, Stephen Hansen, because I've read his book and I love everything he shares, and I share his book with a lot of people. For them, that approach could work. There is no one approach. If there's just one approach, that would be a cult. I think for myself, I'm the bad cop. And I go from my own experience of trying to get clean and sober for 4 years, and I could not. It was the people that confronted me. It used to be called tough love. A lot of people don't like to rock the boat with other people. They don't want to get them upset because they'll lose a friend. Well, too bad. They got me upset and they told me things I did not want to hear. But those were the people I went and talked to later when I had finally got ready to stop drinking and using. I couldn't wait to find them. That was 45 years ago. Those are the people I said I'll never talk to. So some of us are able to hear you when you're being honest with them. Now, I'm not talking about being aggressive or hateful or mean. I'm talking about being honest. Drop the bomb. Hey, Trump's a cult leader. He's been lying to you. Here's a fact. Do you want to, more of a confrontational, but not as a perpetrator, of course. We don't want to harm nobody. But a fact is a fact. And you want to continue with these lies that you know now, there's another side to the story. My hat's off to you. If that's how you want to live your life, go ahead. Live a lot, walking around believing all the lies they've been putting out there. I feel sorry for you. But I want to know the
But they
truth.
do. Every now and then, we're reminded of those many healthy resolutions that we've made over the years, like to lose weight, to exercise more, to eat better. But a goal without a plan, well, it's a plan that's destined to fail. Prolon's 5-day program, it gives you the tools to put your health goals into action with a science-backed plan that makes it easy to stay focused and to achieve real results. Prolon's fasting mimicking diet, well, it's a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe that they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by leading US medical centers, Prolon helps support healthy blood sugar, enhanced skin appearance, fat loss, and improved energy and focus post-fast. Now, it all starts with their 5-day program. Snacks, soups, and beverages, all designed to keep your body in a fasting state. No guesswork and no planning required. 3 consecutive cycles of Prolon have been shown to reduce your biological age score by an average of, get a load of this, 2.5 years. And your waist circumference, by 1.5 inches. Prolon is fasting with food. That's right. It's fasting, but with food. It all starts with Prolon's 5-day program. Again, snacks, soups, beverages, all designed to make your body think that it's fasting. So let me be clear. I did the 5-day program and I feel much better. Prolon, really, it's not like any other diet that I've tried. Because you know why? It's not a diet. It's truly science. I mean, it was convenient. They sent me everything that I needed all in one box. To help you kickstart a health plan that truly works, Prolon is offering Mea Culpa with Michael Cohen listeners 15% off. You hear that? 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day nutrition program. So go now and visit prolonlife.com/mea culpa. That's PROLONLIFE.com/mea culpa to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. That's prolonlife.com/mea culpa. Go there now.
Yeah, because it's fitting their narrative. How many are racist? How many are against the LGBT? I get angry thinking about it. I feel sorry for you, my God, that you have any prejudice going on. But see that, so there's the approach has to be what works for you. And some people say, I just don't talk to them at all. I can't even talk to my family. I get it. Stephen Hansen has a great approach. I have mine. I'm very confrontational, and but that's not going to work with everybody. So there's no
Well, that's
real
for
one
sure.
way.
Yeah, that's certainly for sure. So let me ask you this. I want to move on to sort of like the political climate, the public sentiment, how things are right now today, after less than 2 weeks of Trump in the White House. How do you interpret the public's response to President Trump's recent cabinet selections, especially those who themselves have extremely controversial backgrounds?
It's not
And I'm talking,
surprising.
yeah, yeah.
Trump.
And if I can, because I know that you're an expert in the area of addiction, alcoholism and so on. I mean, we talked about a lot about Pete Hegseth and his frat boy type of drinking and so on. Just use him as kind of the example for the question.
Oh yeah, total denial, isn't he? In a book called Inside the Criminal Mind, he's also a criminal. They will have you look like they're the good guy by using the Bible or Christianity. Like he has that tattoo on him. It's all a facade. It's all a tactic. But yeah, he's in a lot of denial. He needs help. He hasn't stopped drinking. He ain't going to stop drinking. I lost my train of thought, but I'm disgusted with that pick. But what do you expect?
But Pam, what I'm specifically asking you is, the public, we are a very divided country. We have been and this is not a Trump thing, that this country is divided. In fact, the last 5 elections have been decided by basically 1 percentage point, one way or the other. And it was no different in this election as it was in the election Trump lost, as it was in the early one that Trump was victorious in. The question I'm trying to is that we have this 50-50 for all intents and purpose divide. And Trump has taken a very different method of filling cabinet selections. He has gone not with the standard Washington, D.C. insider, that has no issues with either side of the aisle or very few. He has gone for far, far, far off the reservation picks, far off the reservation, with people like a Pete Hegseth, with people like a Tulsi Gabbard, a Christine Noem, who comes to New York, throws on an ice flak jacket, goes up to the Bronx, raids a house, and they're only doing that for video. My question again is, how do you interpret the public's response when 50% of the country want these individuals, see them as people who can do good for the country?
Well, the Heritage Foundation, their Project 2025, need these type of people. They know exactly what they're doing. They call Trump the Wolf King. They need chaos junkies. They need people that are not ethical, that are willing to, just overlook the Constitution, overlook, it's okay that we can do this attitude, not ethical. Because they're able to carry out the Heritage Foundation policies. Because these people are unethical. They'll do it. Even though it's, think about it. Right now, Trump's getting this, it's a chaos. And he's trying to divert us from what's really going on. We got this thing happening, the next day it's that. We're all going, oh my God, what's next? We're crazy. Yeah, keep us crazy. Keep us unfocused. So we don't focus on other things. But watch this Project 2025 and what they're doing right now, because they're just using them. They're just their flying monkeys. And, they're the right people to do with the heritage. And I've shared with you, a lot of people know about The Family. It's a documentary where they're the ones, the Republicans, that started the first prayer breakfast. And it's a documentary on Netflix. You watch, it's very frightening. It's been going on since 1953. Finally, they got their man, Trump, that will implement what they want, which is an all-white Christian nation, and all their other policies that you're really aware of with Project 2025. But we already looked at the list, and there's 5 that's happened this week on their list for Project 2025. So these are just people they're using as puppets, and they want the money and the power. So, you know who to pick when you remember in school, there was that one guy, you could get him to go do whatever you thought you wanted him to do, and he wanted to please you.
It was called the headman. It was called the headmaster in my case.
Yeah. We can get Mikey to go do it.
Exactly. The headmaster in my case, boy, we had him wrapped around our finger. Hey, let me ask you this question, because in light of the recent political developments, what's your view on the importance of accountability amongst public officials? I want you to think about where I'm going with this question. Nearly 1,600 people received that pardon, you included into it. You realize not one public official, not one, and we know for a fact, based upon Jack Smith's reporting, based upon leaks that came out early on, that there was communications going on between people on the outside, the defendants, J6 defendants, and members of Congress and public officials inside the Capitol. What's your views on that? Holding them accountable? Because so far, not one single person has been held accountable.
I'm personally very disappointed right now. We found out there's another man, Jason, I can't think of his last name right now, that has spoke out publicly that doesn't want to take a pardon. Okay, but besides that, why haven't they? I've been crying out to get there and read my letter, or I don't have to go, just read my letter. One J6er, just one. How many have been there to the Capitol? Oak Keepers was just there walking around, and finally a judge, pushed back on that one. Why can't you have me there? What's the problem? I wrote a letter a year and a half ago to you. Not one of you have called me. Not one of you even cared what I've gone through. And I've been standing up for you and pushing back on this narrative for a long time. I have gone through smear campaigns, death threats. My life is on the line. I make no money and I would not take a dime because it would be shameful, a slap in the face to the Capitol Police if I was to be making money off of this. So I'm not in it for fame or money. I'm in it to get the message out to the Congress a long time ago, and I'm especially right now, that you need to stand up and push back on this Trump. He's a bully. He's trying to destroy our country. Let me speak. Michael, why won't they bring me? I don't get it.
You know
Somebody,
why. Of course
somebody
you know
did.
why.
Well, somebody sent me a text saying they do want to bring me, but I haven't heard back from them. Do
I
I have
mean,
to
you
go
know
there
the
myself?
reason
Oh,
why.
Michael, I can go there now if I could find a way. I could go
Yeah.
there.
But Pam,
Hang
you
up
know
that
exactly
plaque.
why they don't want you to speak. They don't want you to speak because your narrative does not comport with their narrative.
No, I
That
mean the
you are,
Democrats. No, the Democrats.
well, that's a great question. You know, again, this is one of the reasons why Kamala Harris lost. It's one of the reasons why Joe Biden, was basically pushed out even by the Democratic Party. They don't know what they have. They really don't. Now, to be honest with you, they should have had you during the Biden administration come up and speak. All right. They should have put you front and center, kind of like the way MSNBC, CNN, and others. You won't get an invitation from Fox News. You're never going to be, welcomed there because, again, your narrative does not comport to theirs. You are basically saying that what President Trump did in these nearly 1,600 pardons is improper. Well, that's not what they want to hear because everything that Trump does, of course, is perfect. And while I will acknowledge, as much as it may be painful to some people to hear, while I will acknowledge Trump has every single right to do what he did. Doesn't mean that just because you can do it, that you should do it, but he did. And legally, constitutionally, he has every single right to do what he did. So at this point in time, why is there even a conversation to be had? He's already shut down the other two indictments that were remaining, the two Jack Smith indictments, right? The Mar-a-Lago document and the what do you call it? And the January 6th hearings. That's already shut down. Fonnie Willis, well, let's just say screwed the pooch on her case by having the relationship with the prosecutor, a total stupid move. The only one that brought any accountability, unfortunately, as we like to say in the real world, too little too late, was Alvin Bragg on the Manhattan DA case. Short of that, Trump has escaped the accountability. So what's the point to have you at this time come in and say, hey, I was there, I know what happened. You need to keep doing media like this, right? Independent media where your voice will get heard, where you're saying, I was there, I shouldn't have been there, I was held accountable, I received a pardon, though I didn't ask for it and I don't want it. But at the end of the day, you know, everybody that was charged, these nearly 1,600 people, all broke the law. Because what they're doing now is they're whitewashing the reality to make it seem that this was not an attack on the Capitol. It was a peaceful, loving protest. And the First Amendment of the Constitution grants you that absolute right.
Well,
Yeah.
they need to get honest with themselves and ask themselves. I understand they're not in my position where I don't have a job or a family. I'm not after keeping my job for money or power, and they have more to lose. But how important is it that you're right with yourself and your own, well, to me, my higher power, to do the right thing and start speaking up against this stuff? I'm talking about those that are in the office because I don't hear them saying anything. I don't see any pushback. That's what I told Kissinger in my little post today. We, the people, are going to have to do this. We, the people, are going to have to push back as hard as we can than ever before, because this is a serious time. And Trump wants to turn this, I think, after the civil rights that's happening. Oh no, we have to be willing to stop being afraid. Stop being afraid. Who's your God? Is Trump your God? You think he's going to come after you and put you in prison and kill you? Oh, well, go ahead. Be afraid of that. But what's more important? I mean, we don't know what people are capable of doing. I get it. But there comes a time when, look at Rosa Parks. She just did the right thing. That's all she did. She didn't look for fame or attention. She knew that it was not right to get moved from that bus that day. And Martin Luther King, all the other ones, before us, just showed us how important it is to stand up and do the right thing, and it'll all turn out okay. Stop being so afraid, of Trump.
Yeah.
They're all afraid of Trump.
Really what you're referring to is grassroots movements.
Yes.
I mean, that's really what you're kind of referring to here.
Yes,
So I'm going to
yes.
ask you a question on that. How significant do you believe that grassroots movements are in shaping policy and public opinion as we live in this incredibly divisive political environment?
Well, learning some from, Heather Cox Richardson, history has shown that we push back. We have not allowed fascists to live, and we could do it again. I mean, unfortunately, we got to do it again. We thought, you remember the slogan, we're not going back? Well, we're back. But we show in history that we can do this again together, not just Bam out here screaming and yelling about all this. We need to get together and know who the organizations and the people that are pushing back and support them financially, verbally, any way you can. And I would like to get a list of who I could support that to help them keep pushing back on this. I hate to say Hitler. I won't say Hitler, but this fascist regime that's going on.
You know where we have a big problem? The real problem, I don't see it with the individuals, the nearly 1,600 or others who are, for lack of a better term, part of the Trump cult, part of MAGA. I don't see that as being the real issue. My situation, the way I see things, is because there is no bipartisanship anymore in our Congress, in our elected officials. There is no bipartisanship. It's either I destroy you or you destroy me. Despite the fact that when I worked in the Congress, going back into 1987 and 88, I worked for Congressman Joe Moakley. And I remember, even though that there was a lot of fighting on the floor, you have your policy position, we have ours, okay, no problem. But at the end of the day, there was still a mutual respect for one another, and there was bipartisanship. I know that President Biden tried to accomplish that. Great idea, wrong guy to accomplish it, wrong time for sure. But my issue that I have with that is that we're too polarized right now. The two sides are way too polarized. You listen to things like, we're not going to get rid of Medicaid. We're not going to get rid of food stamps, or we're not going to get rid of the funding that provides children with a meal for lunch, so at least they're not hungry in school. That should all be a bipartisan issue. Yes. Children should always be off the table. I can't tell you the number of asshole journalists that call me on a regular basis to ask me questions about Barron, about Donald's youngest, right, Barron? Now, he might be the tallest, but he is the youngest. And while he is now an adult in the eyes of the law, I still see Barron as a child, and I won't talk shit about him. I won't answer those questions for a reason. Children should always be off the table. You have an issue with Donald, you have an issue with Melania, no problem. They're adults. They asked for this. Barron did not. It goes back to my whole point. when you can't even have bipartisan cooperation on something like childhood cancer, what's the possibility that the polarization doesn't just get worse? Especially when you have a president and an administration that thrives off of it.
Well, now we know the questions that we really need to ask for the midterms for these people that we're going to try to get in office, don't we? Because how many of us are guilty of not going out and learning about these people that we're wanting to put in office? We don't learn nothing. We go there and we vote if it has an R or a D. We don't even know about the person, because you got a lot of work to start doing now. Because like you said, we don't know enough about them. We don't realize their character. They could get in there and pull what you're saying. And we need to learn more. I mean, who are you going to invite into your own home? Because your house, the Capitol is your home. And you don't know anything about them. You don't know their character. You don't know the policies. You're just going to go vote. So that's what I'd recommend. Let's really find out about who you're deciding to vote for. Find out. Get some truth about them. Not in a negative way. I mean, their policies is what I'm talking about. Not their marriages and all that.
Well, I don't know. Some of that becomes important too. You know, whether or not that they're a substance abuser or that they have, you know, a gambling issue, because that makes them susceptible to, you know, improper actions. You know, Pam, the hour goes by quickly here on Mea Culpa. I have one last question for you, and it's kind of like a personal question here. What message would you convey to individuals who were alongside you during the January 6th events and continue to support similar causes? What message would you say to them?
Well, you know, they're closed-minded. They wouldn't hear anything I'm saying right now. But I would tell them that ever since I got honest with myself, I sleep well and I feel better. I don't no longer have this struggle going on inside of me. When you get honest with yourself and get honest with others, it's a price. It's a feeling that you can't buy, and all the money in the world can't fix that. That, give it some thought. You know, isn't it better to meet your maker, knowing that you were honest with others and honest with yourself? God, can you imagine one of the Oath Keepers or Proud Boys saying, "I'm so sorry, I was wrong that day"? The healing that he could bring to this nation just by admitting that. It could happen. It's a possibility. Miracles happen with people. People change. People see things different later. So I hope you do. I just hope you do. For your own sake. So you could sleep better and feel better about yourself and other people. It's what you did that day.
Not an easy road to redemption, right? Trust me, you and I both know that. Well, Pam,
I know. I've been there.
Pam, thank you so much for joining me on Mea Culpa. I appreciate you. Obviously, I'll be staying in touch. There's a lot more work, as you said before, a lot more work to educate, inform, and provide truth.
And well, you're doing it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pam.